We're live. It's 7 o'clock. What's going on, guys? Lots of cool stuff to talk about tonight. Lots and lots of cool stuff. First of all, thanks to Mark out there who got me in touch with a mutual friend, Jerry, who hooked me up with this. We're going to talk about this later on. Cool, like intake flange for the 4200. So we're going to be making, what that means is we're going to be making a do-it-yourself intake manifold, and like all of my stuff, I'm definitely going to make that adjustable so I can adjust the runner length, show you guys what's happening and what effects the runner length obviously has on the 4200, just like everything else. Does it like short ones? Is like long ones? Is like medium ones? Maybe like all of them at different RPM. So that's exactly what we're going to find out. The other thing that's going to do is because it's going to give me the opportunity to maybe put in a section where I can extend the position of where we put the injectors in, so we can increase the fuel cooling and maybe get more power. It'll be some really cool stuff. So we'll talk about that. I also found some shirts. Let's see if we can get the yellow going there. Let's see. There we go. Killer Bee Racing shirts. Look at that. Yeah, look at that. Awesome. USTCC champions. I got that one. We're going to talk about this one too. Crew shirt. Super cool. Found all these guys hiding. Yeah, what's up? Look at that. I think that's like the coolest logo ever. Awesome stuff. So we're going to be talking about those and how you guys can win one of those. Also, when I went to pick up this flange, Jerry had some really cool stuff. So I'm going to be doing some videos with him. He's got a 2JZ that has multiple carburetors on it and a distributor, and it's driving around in a vehicle. They've taken it on long distance trips. It's got an automatic transmission. So I'm going to do a whole video on that particular car. I'm going to wait and tell you later on what the car is, because the car itself is really cool. But the fact that it has a 2J and it's carbureted and it has a distributor makes it even cooler. He's also got a distributor on the 4200, which is very, very cool. We are going to light one of those up on the engine stand. So I'm going to do a video on that. There's just like so much coolness there. He's got some aluminum heads for the very early inline 6-cylinder, I think Chevy stuff. He's done stuff on the straight 8s. He's got lots of cool stuff. He's got lots and lots of cool stories. And so I'm going to be getting together with him to help tell his story, because that's the great thing about the automotive industry, is that you meet these guys, and this is certainly true of really young guys. They think that they know everything and have done everything, and the reality is they haven't. But you get to meet these guys and find out, they tell you all these stories about all these things that they did and that they were involved in. You're like, man, that's just so cool. So it's good to get together with new guys and meet them. That's why you want to meet all these new guys in the industry. It's awesome to get together with them, fellow car guys. He has lots of cool projects that he's working on. Obviously, he does lots of the 6-cylinder stuff. He was responsible for making the flywheels for manual trans stuff, which Mark is now are available through Mark also. He has adapters and all kinds of cool stuff. He has a few motors there. He's got I think he's got a 5-cylinder version and a 4-cylinder version. He's got a bunch of cool stuff. So I'll be doing lots of cool stuff with him, which will be awesome. So again, thanks, Mark. When you're listening, I'm sure you'll be watching later on, because I sent you an email to thank you already. So we got the shirts. We got this. What else are we talking about tonight? Oh, I had the video that I'm working on right now that I will be finishing up and loading tonight is I'm doing my salute to the Holley High Ram and why guys use that on a lot of applications, and where you should be using it and where you shouldn't be using it, but kind of why it's so popular. Naturally, I'm going to show you in dyno form why this thing does what it does and what it actually does in comparison to other intake manifolds. So why guys might want to be using that and why they might not want to be using it. So that's cool stuff. That's actually a very popular intake, especially for guys that are running turbocharged drag race stuff in the RPM range that they run it in, because it works very well. It has enough runner length that it produces power in the right RPM range. It obviously works well for a lot of the guys that are doing that stuff. It's kind of the go-to deal. So we'll go through that when some more people get here. We're at 70 people right now and 22 thumbs up. So get to hit those thumbs up, guys. May as well get it started. Let's get it going right away. What's up from Higher Performance? Right on. Cool shirts. Hit the like button. Turbo Tony. And also, I'm going to be heading down to West Tech pretty soon. And when I go down there, I'm going to go to the wrecking yard and get my, it won't be my first Mopar because I already have the Slant 6, but I'm going to go get a Magnum. And the reason I'm going to get a Magnum is because it's going to have the offset pin position, and I'm going to swap the pistons. And we'll do that. I don't know if we'll do it. I might just do it in stock trim. Ideally, I'd like to do it carbureted, but we can run it EFI too. So if it has the big beer keg on there, that will work as well. So we can run that fuel injected with a Holly because that's a simple setup. That shouldn't be a problem at all. We might have to get I wonder if, does anybody know if a conventional distributor will fit on that motor with that beer keg manifold on? I don't remember where the crank trigger and stuff is. I don't remember if it has. Does somebody remind me if the 318 or the 360 Magnum has a conventional distributor on it? I can't remember. We'll get one or the other of them, probably a 360, because I want to do more stuff with that. I want to compare that to the 350 Vortec motor and the 351 Windsor, and that will be a good time to just get that. It doesn't really matter to me which one it is. As long as it runs good and is repeatable, we can take it apart and switch them side to side, and then we can make them run. I want to know what a base 5.9 makes. Are they an LQ4 competitor? I don't know. I'd like to see what they do. I don't know what's the trigger on the does anybody know what the trigger is? The trigger pattern is on the 5.9 or 5.2 Magnum. I thought that they did have a distributor chip. That's what I was remembering. It's been so long since I looked at the back of them. I thought that they had a distributor, and if they do, then we could just put a conventional distributor in there, like a MSD. And then, and also, does anybody know? And I talked to my guy today. Is a Magnum distributor the same as an LA distributor? Does anybody know? Like, is a 360 Magnum the same as a 360 LA distributor? Somebody let me know. I know that they're probably going to have different cams, so maybe the distributor. Maybe the gear will be different, because I'm sure that the Magnum's going to have a hydraulic roller cam, and the early LA stuff is going to have a flat tappet cam. So that might be different, but I don't know about the depth and all that stuff. Okay, Nick's saying the 5.9 does have a distributor. Is it the same as the LA distributor? Jonathan, we're not doing a Cummins. I like those motors. I had one in my Dodge truck, but not going to be doing the Cummins stuff on the engine dyno. Oh, Race Rabbit, you're welcome. And Race Rabbit, you should have waited a little bit, because you're going to be playing a game, because guys are going to be bidding on these shirts. So we got these. These are from my race team back when we won the U.S. Touring Car Challenge, or U.S. Touring Car Championship. This is the crew shirt. I've got some larges. I've got some extra larges. And we've got these. These, Killer B. That's just freaking awesome. And those shirts are going to, and I'll just keep announcing it. Those shirts, the crew shirt is going to go to whoever the highest bidder is for Super Chats tonight in tonight's video. So if you're right now, Race Rabbit is leading the way for one of the crew shirts, and then the second highest will get one of the regular T-shirts. They're only available in those colors, because that's all I found. I found a box of them, and I forgot that I had all these extra ones. So I thought I would, give them away to you guys and have everybody have a chance to earn them, because that's kind of a fun deal. It has a regular distributor, but no vacuum advance at all. It's computer control. That's what we figured. It's a computer controlled distributor, so that's not going to work for us unless did anybody put it there what the trigger pattern is? Not the firing order. We know the firing order is a Chevrolet firing order, but what is the trigger pattern? I don't know if we have fast. It should probably. I don't know if it will recognize the factory output, but if I put an MSD distributor in there, it will recognize that. So that will be easy. Paul, don't worry about the golf ball, the dimple ported heads. That's look at all the tests on dimple ported stuff. You need to have the ball needs to be like a golf ball needs to be rotating, and it makes the golf ball fly farther, but it doesn't improve the heads. At least I don't think it does. I haven't seen any data where anybody showed me that they ran it ported and then dimpled them and then it made more power. Nobody's shown me any of that. So no comments from anybody about the thumbnail for this video. Did everybody look at that? Did everybody see? No questions about a car that's being powered by rubber bands. Did you guys see that? That was like one of the most awesome things I've ever seen at Bonneville. It was a guy that was trying to set a record in that, whatever that class is, alternative power source or something, and he had all of those rubber bands wound and loaded up, and then they pushed the thing off, and the stored energy in the rubber bands that were tightened up, and then they got to tighten it like with a machine. It was pretty awesome. And then they let it go, and so that it would power itself. I don't remember how fast it went or how successful it was, but it's just super cool that a guy would go out of his way to build something like that. It was an awesome thing. I mean, my buddy Bernie and I think he was there. We spent a long time, and it might have been Tom from West Tech who helped me out with all this stuff. And again, thanks, Tom. That was awesome of you to do that. But we looked at that thing for a long time because we're trying to figure out how do they engage it? How do you get the drive? How is the thing not turning all the time? And it was really, really pretty cool. The port shape is what controls wet flow. On a cylinder head, depending on where you inject the fuel, how much of the port is exposed to fuel. Let's see, Jonathan, thank you very much. Uncle Tony talked about somebody he knows is developing a performance part for the Slant 6. I think it's a head. Would you be willing to test this? Yeah, I'm willing to test anything. What's the safest maximum boost you can run on a rubber band? I think you run lots on a rubber band. I know I would like to run that rubber band on the dyno if it would push that car forward. We were speculating that it might go 15 or 20 miles an hour or something. The thing that we didn't know is I don't remember talking to the designers or anybody. We didn't know how much it weighed. So, you know, it's a matter of stored energy versus getting up to speed. I think that maybe their game plan was just to push it with a truck and then engage the rubber band drive, the hyperdrive, and then go whatever the thing was going when it got pushed by the truck. I don't know that that's the case. Maybe the thing really worked, and either way, I'm all in on it. It's awesome either way, but it was very, very cool. Doug, you got to get started. Let's get it started up in here. A gravity powered racer. It's going to be tough to make the turn at the end of that, though. It does go in reverse when it's unwound, but you gotta back it up a whole bunch of times. So what was Lucas's question? I didn't see it back here. Can high ECT make oil pressure go down? Engine coolant temp? Yeah, the temperature of the oil can make the oil pressure go down. If you have cold oil, the pressure can be really high. Once you heat that up, it flows a lot better and there's less resistance and the pressure goes down. I'm working on the L67 stuff. The guys from ATI, my good buddy over there, is sending me the dampener that I need so that we can put the trigger wheel on it. So that will be good. Crash, you need to test that, and because we have had that change. Because what happens is if you put his question was, if you stud the bottom end of an LM7 and reuse the stock crank, does it change the bearing clearance enough that I need to change them? You need to check that, because what if you're on the tight side already, and what's going to happen is you're going to put ARP or some other kind of stud in there. You're going to tighten it more than the factory bolt tightens it, and so you're going to distort the cap, and it does change the bearing clearance. Steven's happy he just got his Flowtech induction small block Ford cam today. Partying like Rockstar, small block Ford Rockstar. I really like, Jonathan, I really like those rubber band powered planes. I used to play those all the time. You'd start winding them, and then you'd get the first set of windings, and then you do it again, and then they would double up, and then you could triple them, and then pretty soon the rubber band would break. It'd break at the ends where it's attached to the little staples that are put in it. But yeah, you get the double and the triple because you wanted to have as much flight time as you could. Those things were awesome. Doug, I'm glad the Big Block Chevy videos are helping you. Make sure to take a look at all of the. I want you to watch every video in the Big Block Chevy playlist, both the NA and the turbo ones. And if you could watch them 3 or 4 million times a piece, that would be super awesome. That would be really helpful. Yep, winding her out. Mark's in the house. Thank you, Mark, for hooking me up with Jerry. He's great, and his wife is fantastic. They're good people. Lots of stuff there. I'm going to do lots of videos with them. It will be very, very cool. My buddy and I built a flywheel engined prototype to run on the flats, but after doing some quick math, decided that the stored energy would be absolutely lethal if controlled by any kind of failure. There was an inertia energy or stored energy giant flywheel type vehicle at SEMA one year, and I can't remember who did it, but it was really cool. But that's the same thing that we were saying. We're like, wow, that's really big. It's really heavy, and it's spinning very fast. That's a lot of stored energy, and we hope that it's, that it uses all of its power for good. Random question: can the magnetic pickup in an HEI coil ground itself out? Does it have a short somewhere? Like, does it have a crack somewhere? Yeah, Holland horse. That's not the same thing, is it, Dan? According to Nick says, according to MSD, the 8534 distributor fits 273 to 360 engines. Does it say that it includes Magnums? I thought that they were the same, but I mean the distance should be the same, but I'm not sure of that because I don't know, don't know if the intake flange where the distributor sets is exactly the same. Jerry was great, Mark. He's got lots of good stories. Yeah, hit that like button, yo. Football wants to know, is it possible to have too big of a throttle body regardless of the intake manifold style? Would you just have better throttle response at low end? Yeah, it would just feel like the thing is, because the opening rate, basically, you have a lot more airflow relative to the throttle position on a bigger throttle body. So it just feels snappier. It's not. It's just that you just have relatively more throttle opening. And then, yeah, if the throttle body isn't the restriction, you won't gain anything on the top. The other thing I would say is that putting a 102 millimeter throttle body on a factory truck intake manifold that has a 78 millimeter, 80 millimeter opening is just a waste of time. Shirts, yeah, let's take a look at the shirts again. Look at that. Whoa! Let's see. Kilby Racing. And then the crew shirt. The crew shirt's going to be the one that everybody wants because these are super cool. What? Sponsored by Extrude, Kilby Racing, and then the Kilby on the backside. Wall, Kilby Racing. So come on, guys. Throw that super chat money up there. Who wants a shirt? Whoever has the highest bid at the end of the night, the two highest bids, one guy gets one of the shirts and one guy gets the other shirt. So come on, get it going. Let's see. possible to have, let's see, shirts. Nick. Yeah, they do. They do need underdrive pulleys on that rubber band car, right? Caleb wants to know how we break in cams, hydraulic flat tappet cams specifically, when testing multiple cams on a dyno. Brule just told me that there seem to be having some more issues with the flat tappet stuff. I don't know if it's the lifters. I suspect that that's what it is. Back in the way back when we had problems with them, and what I would do is put Moly-based assembly lube on the cam. I would put it on the bottom of the lifter. We would put high zinc oil and additive and try to do everything that we could. And then the ideal situation is to break them in with a really light spring. But normally when we do tests, and I haven't had there be a problem when we were testing the flat tappet cams way back, which is when I did most of them with small block Chevys and small block Fords. And when I say small block Fords, I mean like 289s, not the 5-liter stuff. The 5-liter stuff is just a hydraulic roller. You slam that in. But the other ones that are flat tappet cams, we usually give it about a 15 or 20-minute break-in cycle. And the dyno varies the RPM and load with the flat tappets. And then when we're doing it, we don't normally do that test with really high intensity flat tappet stuff. It was almost always street motors. So we didn't have to have a ton of spring rate and revving the thing to 7,000 RPM. If we were doing that, we probably would have an inner and outer spring, and we'd have to go through the procedure of taking the inner spring out and just breaking it all in on the outer spring. And that would be a lot of work. So I don't know if guys are going to want to do that. Oh, we got two $20 bids. Oh, Doug is saying, folks, if you're watching on a mobile device, you may have to X out of the chat and to hit the like button. Dix, do you think anyone will take Uncle Tony up on his challenge 318? I'll tell you, Dix County Auto Body, I'll tell you what the problem is with Tony's challenge is it's not going to work. You can't take two different motors, especially two different old used motors, and then build them up and then compare them on two different dynos. that's not even a competition. That's not a comparison. That's nothing. If you give them both teams, if we bring them both to the same dyno so that we know that it's accurate back to back, give them both the same motor, and then have them work whatever magic they're going to work on it, you know, the gaskets only, whatever that is. I think what Tony's thinking is that he's going to reverse the Pistons and his is going to make more. I'm going to do the piston challenge. I'm going to swap it. I'm going to get a Mopar at the wrecking yard on my next trip. I don't know if I'll be able to run it on my next trip, but I'm going to get the Mopar, and if I can, I'm going to do a back-to-back test on the piston swapping. I want to know. And like I said, I don't care which one it is. It doesn't make any difference to me. I don't think personally, I don't think Uncle Tony is the engine builder that Dulcich is. I would, if they were both going to Engine Masters, I would put my money on Dulcich. He knows them. He does more dyno testing. He's really, really good. That's not to say anything negative about Uncle Tony. That's where my money would be. Putting together a stock 2-barrel 318 is not, that's like rebuilding the motor. But again, that's not a competition because two different motors, two different dynos, that's not a good competition. But I want to test the piston or the pin swapping and see if it does anything. And if it does, I'm going to be the first guy to jump up and down and say, hey, yep, Uncle Tony was right. This is awesome. If it's not, I'm going to be the first guy to jump up and down and say, hey, there's nothing there. Whatever the dyno tells us is there. And whether it is or not, I'm going to report it. Let's see, 69. How bad will my LS53 run with a turbo on stock tune? Will it make it to the tuner? Or what kind of stall do I want turbo? Your motor will drive fine with the turbo if you're just driving over there at part throttle. But I'll bet $1 that you won't be able to not go into boost. And when you do, you're going to lean it out. I could drive the car for 6 months and never go into boost without any problem at all. But most guys can't drive it around the block to get to the dyno without just, I just got to feel it one time and then rattle and break the pistons. Let's see. Company of Eagles. My engine guy from NorCal the last 30 years just passed away, so I'll have to be more often to get. So yes, I will be here more often to get advice. Hey, there's lots of good guys here to give you engine advice. Lucas has a small timing cover leak. Does that have any effect? No, it won't. That won't have any effect. Yeah, Gene was great, Mark. Yeah, Doug, see, that's what I mean. It has to use all of its power for good, and we all should do that. Yeah, Tucker, I remember seeing that. He said that Knott's Berry Farm uses a flywheel to launch one of their roller coasters. So they spin it up and engage it, and it takes off. So it's pretty cool. The L67 Simon will be a Big Bang motor, yes. Sean wants to know, can extrude honing cause lots of low-end cost or cause loss of low-end torque as an improvement? It's usually an improvement when we extrude hone like when we were doing the HO manifolds, the long runner factory 5-liter HO manifolds, and you extrude hone it, it helps everywhere. It doesn't help as much down low because it already has enough flow and the right runner length down low with the stock stuff normally. But you can pick up power everywhere. I don't ever remember it losing power. You lose power from changing the design of the intake, and porting it doesn't really do that. What would you recommend for an air-cooled VW, a blow-through or a draw-through? Both of those work just fine. Are guys still doing draw-through stuff on the air-cooled Volkswagens? You want to make sure you put an intercooler on it. And if you're going to put an intercooler on it, then you want to do a draw-through. I mean, do a blow-through. Craig is saying that's why you use 3 throttle plates like in a rotary, 2 primaries, and a massive secondary. If you take a look at the old LT5, the original one, the ZR1 motor, the 405 horsepower one or 385, they made both of them. That's what it had. It had a very small throttle blade to drive around on, and then it had 2 more normal sized throttle blades that opened up when you wanted to go fast. That's a pretty good design. Taper plenum or a straight plenum on 4-cylinder intakes. It's a turbo engine, if that matters. I don't think that makes any difference at all. I haven't seen that change anything. Can big block Chevy heads with a 219 valve be cut to 225 without replacing the seat? I think that they can. That's not that big of a jump. I'm missing the metallurgy shot there. Richard Cheney stepped his game up to it. $20. Good job. A weird missing it. Noticed the MSD wiring the distributor was touching. I taped them up to keep them from touching the base or each other. And the miss went away. Yeah, if it's arcing to something else, that could be bad. Caleb just stepped in with the $20. Thank you very much. Racer said I made 573 horsepower with a 6.2-liter LS with an Escalade intake and 102mm throttle body. Yeah, that's the right size throttle body for that application. Jonathan, are you wanting to test a stock crank, a lightweight crank, and a knife edge crank? That would be cool to run a. Jonathan says, I know someone who was going to run a compressed air motor in a Lotus 11 clone. Nice, with the intention to try to set some sort of record at El Mirage. That would kind of be cool. Tanny says, DIY intake. I'm making 2 throttle body intake, 450 millimeter barrel in total for my 5.8 liter. That's cool. Did you send me a picture of that? Looking for a 5.8 EFI lower, TFS or Edelbrock after your intake vid yesterday. No one is making them anytime soon. Parker, send me an email. I think I have a 351 Windsor upper and lower. I think it's a TFS one. I'll put my email address down. Okay, there's my email. I know somebody needs to step up to $21. That will be really funny. They're going to go all prices right on you. Yeah, Scuba Sam. And I haven't run flat tappet cams for a little while, but Brule was telling me that they're having some issues with them. Jonathan, the SCTA more or less invited because Killa done somewhere else. Yeah, that's good. They were really concerned when the guys brought out the guys from Roush and Ford did a hydrogen powered car, and they were really afraid of that too for some reason. Yes, John. John's throwing out the the rubber band puns. It would be a slingshot dragster. Bump. I'll be here all week. Tip your waitresses. They need the money for makeup. Power 123, please do a Dodge 5.9 liter Magnum converted to carbureted power runs. I'm going to. I'll run the EFI beer keg thing, and then we'll put a carbureted manifold on it just because we should. So I need to hit up my MSD boys and have them send me a distributor. Hopefully they have one in stock. Yeah, that's what I was saying, Tim. It doesn't work with two people on different coasts with different motors that they're starting with, yard motors, and then running them on two different dynos. That's not a challenge. That's not, and I'm sure he knows better than that. I did finally watch because the thing that Uncle Tony is talking about is in response to Freiberger and Finnegan doing Roadkill Garage or something. They did a thing on it where Freiberger asked Dulcich about what he thought about reversing the piston and stuff, and none of them had data. They didn't have data on it either. They were, as a matter of fact, Dulcich threw a challenge out, which I'm sure was aimed at me to have somebody test it back to back, because he knows that I'm the foolish guy that would actually do that. But yeah, they were talking about they didn't think that there'd be any gain, and that it was done for noise, to stop the noise and to stop the piston from breaking. And there was a lot of discussion. And then I think Uncle Tony called them out on that. And like I said, I'm not involved in that. Frank, if we reverse it, there's actually no valve release in that piston, so it's not going to be an issue. We're not going to run it with a big camshaft anyway, so it doesn't make any difference. So the stock cam has plenty of piston to valve clearance for what we're doing. Doug, 455 is Olds, milled, mild build, and a stock emissions air head, nitrous or supercharger. I like superchargers, but the nitrous is cheap. It's a cheap way to go, and it works. And if you're only going to use it occasionally, it works really good. So Racer D, we keep on this reverse piston deal, but it was done for years in NHRA stock aluminum engines. So does it do anything? That's what I want to know. I just want to know if it works. I want to know if it. Okay, Jonathan. Now, well, you don't have to spend money for that. Crank shootout flat? No. Flat plank? Nope. Flat plane, not going to happen. Versus lightweight versus knife edge. Way too much vibration and all sorts of balancing issues with that flat plane crank, and you're just not going to find them anywhere anyway. Stock, your original one I think was stock versus lightweight versus knife edge, and that would be more of a possibility, although even that would be a lot. I wonder what the balance would be if you did that work to the same style crankshaft. For instance, if we balanced an assembly with a stock crank and then knife edged it, how much is that going to change the balance? Or if we made a lightweight version, or the lightweight version is certainly going to change the balance. So you're talking about having different rotating assemblies. That would be a lot of work, but it would be interesting to see. I think what you do is take a stock one and then take a light or a knife edged one and make the knife edged one also lightweight. So go from one extreme to another and see what that is, then figure anything else is going to kind of be in the middle of that. We know that lightweight is going to change the power because I've already done that test. We've done a steel drive plate and a steel flywheel versus an aluminum drive plate and aluminum flywheel, and it definitely changes the power output. Doug, I'll sign them regardless of what the Doug wants to know. If shirts go over 50, will you sign them? I'll sign them regardless. So you guys think that Uncle Tony and Dulcich will be grinding their own cams from this? I was going to say, the thing is that when you look at this, I look at this from like the engine master's point of view, reading the rule book, going through, oh yeah, here's a loophole, here's a loophole, here's a loophole. In all of that discussion that they were talking about, these guys are racers, both of them. And so they look at it the same way. So I know that they're thinking, well, I'm just going to do this and this and this and this and this. And there's all these things. They're going to make this 2-barrel motor make a lot more power. And so it's going to be the guy that thinks up more things. You know, it would be a lot of stuff. What if your junkyard motor was a 346 pack motor? I mean, what stops somebody from doing that and putting a 2-barrel on it? Lucas wants to know what's the best LS. Well, that's whatever one you have is the best one. Yeah, Tucker, it can the idle and drivability on the bigger throttle body on a drive-by-wire setup makes it can be touchy. But the cool thing about the drive-by-wire setup is it's almost like, because you can change the sensitivity, I think. So it's almost better to do it that way than it is manually. The factory, Jonathan, the factory one, a lot of the factory stuff, including the slant 6, has pin offset. Almost a lot of the factory stuff does. None of the aftermarket stuff is going to have pin offset. They're all centered in the piston. Does anybody know? No, that's on a 292 Chevy. Let's see. Lucas, what's the best LS53 bottom end heads combo for turbo, looking for around 1200 horsepower? You can do that with the stock stuff. You don't, I mean, there's lots of good forged stuff. The Summit has their Pro LS stuff. K1 has stuff. Wiseco has stuff. JE. Any kind of forged piston and rod that you're going to put in, there's going to be fine for that power level. You can do that power level with the stock head and the right camshaft. You can put another head on it. You can put a ported stock head on it. You can put a Trickflow 205 head on it, or Tony Mammo has another 205 that you could put on there. But the thing is, what's going to determine that power output is not the head that you put on there. It's going to be determined by the turbo. So get a turbo that will support 1200 horsepower, and then that combo, your stock head, good cam 5.3 with a decent intake manifold on it, will make 1200. Andy, I don't know. Andy wants to know on your lobe separation angle test, do you think that the power curve between the different LSAs crossed at RPMs below 2000? I mean, I wouldn't run wide open throttle stuff below 2000 because I just don't think there's any reason to. But typically, a tighter LSA is going to be better down there. What tune changes need to be made on engine expected to see 250 horsepower? I would take timing out of it. Yeah, AOL, what's up? Andy, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen below 2000 because we don't ever run there. Frank wants to know how to prevent Hemi lifter problems from happening again. I noticed there's nothing to keep the rockers in place, like other Hemi engines that have springs or something to keep them in place. On the shaft, there's nothing that holds them in place. Football, that the challenge isn't directed at me. That's directed at Freiberger and Dulcich. Caleb, you should have stepped it up $1, man. That's the key. You got to do the Price is Right thing, man. The Coyote crank isn't a flat plane crank, right? Only the Voodoo one is a flat plane. Alicia, I had 2 flat tappet cams that had porosity holes that developed in the lobes, and they ate themselves after 500 miles. That's not good. Durham, did I hear you say that on a turbo application, a torque cam is more prone to detonation? I think it would be, because I think it would make more low-speed power, but probably not a lot, though. Dick's Country Auto Body, 67 Camaro, I like, with the wing windows. 400 small block, Tremec, nice, all good. Is that Tim? Is that meaty camshaft? Is that a meaty stage 1 or a meaty stage 2? Cookie wants to know, how do you feel about a 225, 236, 528, 525, 107, 113 going in a Blazer? Is it a 113 LSA? Is that why you're giving me both of those? That cam should work fine. Racer is saying reversing the piston helps reduce bore friction because the piston does not fight its way past TDC. So does it make power? That's what I want to know. Version. Speaking of MSD, when do you upgrade your? I don't know. I've never done any upgrades on the LA, not coil stuff on the LA. We don't do coil pack upgrades on the LS. I don't know why you'd need them on the L83. Engine going through, the gain from knife edging them isn't as much. I hope you heard all that. 10,500 RPM LS, that would be a lot. So now we've gone into the RPM wars, 8,000, 10,000, 20,000. It just never ends. Admiral's here. What are you doing? Would you do any 463 valve stuff? I have done 463 valve stuff, lots of it. Caleb is in the lead, right? Is he at 25? Uh-oh, somebody just stepped up to 27. Okay, for you guys that are not paying attention here, I'm gonna have to go down to the bottom. Here's what's at stake. Shirts. Killer Bee Racing shirts. These are OG. These are from 2000. These are from Y2K. That's how long they've been around. These are championship shirts signed by the winner, by the championship. We've got the crew shirt and we have the normal t-shirt. Whoa, Killer Bee Racing. Look at that. He's got jetpacks on. Come on, look at that. Jetpacks. A bee with jetpacks. When do you get to see that? So that's what people are bidding on for if you guys are new and just signed in. Let's see. Jonathan, when you build an engine, how do you pick the oil weight? We normally do that based on the bearing clearance, and we usually choose the bearing clearance for what kind of oil we're going to run. Scott wants to know, have you ever done a 464 valve? Mark's checking out. Have you ever done a 464 valve mod motor cam? I think you're saying cam comparison, maybe? I've done 464 valve cam tests. We've run different cams in the 4 valve stuff. Johnny wants to know, for a given level of peak horsepower, if you're just bombing around, what do you enjoy more, a low end torque or high torque motor? I think it depends. In my truck, I'd much rather have a motor that makes peak power at 5,000 RPM if they were both making, let's say, 400 horsepower and the peak came at 5,000 RPM, because what would happen is it would make a lot more torque below that, as opposed to one that made 400 horsepower at 6,500 RPM, because then the torque would be lower. But if I was on a track, I would like the other one. I would want it to have more RPM. 60,000 pin offset. Cool. I know. Probably be enough, right? Plus, it would keep all the rays from trying to get me. Lane, can the 403 Chevy V6 exhaust nozzle flip around? I don't think that they can. I don't think that we were able to do that. Let's see if Paul, if a blower takes power to drive it, would a 1,000 horsepower motor measured on the dyno be actually making more? Are you saying if we took the motor and ran it without the blower and ran it with a turbo, would it make more power? Yes, it would, because it's not driving the blower. Have you ever tested intake boundary layer stuff, dimpled versus powder coated? I haven't tested that. I don't know that the boundary layer is gonna, like powder coating, I don't know that that's gonna affect flow. Maybe it would if it's really smooth. But usually there's not a lot of flow right at the surface, right at the boundary layer. Yeah, let's see. Tucker, did you ask the question before about the 1,000 horsepower deal? Yeah, the thing is, if you have a supercharged motor that's making 1,000 horsepower, the fuel that you're supplying is for more than 1,000 horsepower. It's for the 1,000 horsepower that you're seeing on the dyno, plus whatever the consumption is from the blower. So, and whatever the parasitic losses are with the motor for spinning the crank and the windage and all that stuff, all of that has to be fed fuel. So your fuel supply is going to be, in that instance, let's say that it's going to be for 1,200 or 1,300 horsepower, whatever the drive loss is on the supercharger that you're using. The price is wrong, Bob. Happy Gilmore, awesome. We rewind that scene all the time with my boys. It's funny that he's fighting Bob. It's fighting Bob freaking Barker. That's awesome. And I love Richard Jaws Keel with the nail in his head. That's just priceless. And Chubbs, all of that's just good comedy. So who are we at? Who's winning? I think that is Doug winning right now? Isn't the 4-valve cam test up on the one that we ran it on was the 03 Cobra motor. We did a cam upgrade. We put the Comp 262 cams in the Cobra motor, and I did it NA and I did it supercharged. I need to take a look and see if that video's up. I know I did stories on it, so I thought that I had already done videos on it. I need to take a look. Because it went from, and I can tell you what happened right now, Admiral, it went from 375 or 6 horsepower to 425 with just the cams. It lost a little bit down low with that, and those were the 262s, I think, were the smallest shelf cam that they had. And then we ended up running it. We ran the 03 Cobra motor with like a 2001 NA Cobra intake manifold and ran it NA like that, and we took that off. And then we ran it supercharged. So we ran it supercharged with the stock cam and then with these cams. And then we ran it NA with the stock cam and these cams. And it did really well. It picked up a lot of power. And then we ended up doing the whole boost comparison where we ran the roots blower, the twin screw blower, the turbos, and the centrifugal blower all at the same boost level on that cammed 03 Cobra motor. Pro Charge Mopar. I'd go 28, but it'd end up being worn under a leaky, greasy car with dirty concrete. That's how all of my shirts are. That's why I keep needing to get swag from other people, because I wear these down at West Tech, and it just crawling around at the wrecking yard or putting the motors together, because all of my motors are all greasy and dirty and stuff. The flat plane cranks are very vibration prone, and there's not a good reason to use them. Ford Country, we are talking about cars. Tuning question. My first Ellis carbureted 5.3, air fills 11.0 with an air fuel gauge, wide open, 30 degrees total timing, LM7 with the 236 cam. 700 Holly has a 456 gear. You need to take jet out of it then. Is it 11.0 with a dual plane intake or single plane intake? It doesn't really matter. You should be able to pick up a little bit of power. And the thing is, it might surprise you. It might not pick up a lot going from 11 to 11.5 or 12.0. .456 gears. So everybody needs, right? Okay, we got 5 minutes left. 5 minutes left on the. Oh, Jason stepped up to $28. What's up? 11.0 is almost smoking. Just over exaggerating everything. I need to move closer to West Tech. I know. I used to live down there. Xmoto, what are you doing? Oh, okay. It's a single plane. Okay, well, that's easy. You just need to take jet out of it. I would take it's a 700. Do you have jets in the front and back? It's tunable on both ends. If it is, I would take a couple of jets out of both. I'd take at least 2 out of both. Doug, Doug stepping his game up. Wheels and Tires, just want to say love your channel and the Hemi stuff. Your visit caused one-eyed boys to now want a turbo on his 5.7 Project Hemi. My son actually wants a Hemi truck too. And I might do the same thing on my 5.7 and the 69 Dart. I like those. Those are very good. What is Tom Bailey's new build? Somebody tell me about that. The dude. Uh-oh, 511 gears. That's serious. 511 gears, but they're 40-inch tires, though. Doug's up to 32 bucks? Man. Yeah, on a 4-cylinder, it's going to have a flat plane crank, right? Let's see. Gabe, have any performance tips? Recently stuck a 97 V10, nice, into a 1500 truck. Power 300 horsepower, 450 foot-pounds. I want to run one of those on the dyno. I think it would be cool. We want to do ported heads and cams and turbos and stuff. Just because it's a V10 and it has to have 2 turbos on it, right? Because they all need to. But the cams are going to be expensive to get. So, you know, maybe do I don't know if you have an air intake or maybe exhaust or something like that you put on it. Otherwise, it's going to start to get expensive to make mods to it. You could put a nitro shot on it. Doug, it's really appreciated, and I'll make sure I'm going to get you guys out stuff. My dad races a 1990 Ford F-250 with a blown 460, as they all should have. Thanks for all the info. Happy to help. Mike's been lurking since 2005. That's almost stalking, right? Is that what it is? Can't quite believe the Pistons swap thing is still alive. Yeah. Makes noise, not power, but I can't prove it because we kept no documentation. Yeah. I just have to test it. And even if I test it once and it doesn't do anything, or it does do something, is that really going to be the answer? And, you know, it's good for everybody to still like argue back and forth about it. Racer D, what kind of motor were you going 10.5 in at 128 miles an hour? Yes, a Triton V10 and a Dodge V10 shootout would be good, except I think the Dodge wins that because it's quite a bit bigger. I know that must be a really good truck. Ford Country runs 8 at 460. That's pretty cool. Let's see. Andy, I have a 489 big block with a 212 at 50 cam. Okay. Peanut port heads, peaks at 4,600. What RPM do you think we'll move to with AFR ones 265s? Not a lot. I would be surprised if it's more than 200 or 300 RPM. What's the best stage 1 cam for a 350 small block? I don't really designate those in stages. What's the rest of the motor, and what's it going to be used for? Ricky, just let me know, and we'll show you what kind of cam. There's some emissions legal cams that you can use. There's some extreme energy stuff, and obviously some hydraulic roller stuff. Uh-oh, piston in the oil pan. That's never a good place for it. Put some engine parts up. So did everybody see this? Did everybody see how cool this was? You guys don't get this, but see, look, it's got the receiver, the O-ring receivers, so it seals, and then on this side, it's got a receiver so that we can squish the tube and set the tubing in there, and then weld that. So we got our oval tubing, and in this case, it's not going to stay oval tubing; it's just going to transition into round tubing. I think these are set up for, he marked it as a 2.5-inch OD tube is kind of what goes in there. So I'll do standoffs on it, and then we'll be able to make it adjustable, which will be really cool to have an adjustable intake. And we can hopefully help Calvin out in his stuff. Shout out to Calvin. If you guys haven't taken a look at his stuff, he ran 9s in his 4200, unopened, as all the kids say, with a turbo on it, 19 pounds with a turbo 400. So he's making stuff happen out there, which is really cool. But hopefully in all the dyno testing, we'll be able to show him hopefully what works and what doesn't work, and he'll be able to, you know, make that go fast. Trying to look and see if I have some parts. Parts is parts. So what do you guys think I need to put some car parts up during some of these live feeds, and you guys can bid on that stuff? Will that be fun? You guys are really still on the flat plane crank stuff? Doug, I won't be at the duct tape drags in October, I don't think. I don't really have anything I could run. Have you ever tested an LO5? That's the throttle body motor, right? A TBI? We tried to run a TBI long ago and didn't have any success in getting the fuel injection to work. Oh, 98%. 98% of the truck is carbon fiber. So that's a really good Ford. What was I don't remember offhand, how much power did the V10 in the truck, in the Dodge? Was that like a 400 horsepower one? T-Bird, it won't be PVC, it'll be aluminum. What I do is make slip fit aluminum tubes, so I can just do them in sections and we can extend it 2 inches and 2 inches and 2 inches and make the thing as long as we want, or there will be a minimum to how short we can make it, because it will have to be, the standoff will have to be like, this far or something like that, just so that it can transition and then make the receiver. And then when we do that, then that would be the minimum, and then we could just put the plenum on there. So we could make maybe we can make a 4, 5, 6 inch minimum, and then we could send it all the way out to 20 inches or something if we want to. Mason, you're still wanting to see somebody test the SVE small block Ford heads. So you're the only guy I know that's ever mentioned that head. Andy, I honestly don't. I love the AFR 265s for that big block, and they're always good to put on. It's lightweight. It's a much better head. But with the amount of camshaft that you have in that, you're not going to be really taking advantage of what that airflow research head has to offer. I think it'll still make more power than the stock head. It just won't make as much more. I don't know that you'll think it'll be worth it. Johnny, the Yamaha R1s, those were cool. Oh, today when I was driving, I got to see a OG RD400. A guy pulled into the lane next to me and then turned off into the gas station. I was getting ready to get on the freeway, and I heard this exhaust out. I'm like, dude, that's definitely an RD. Lo and behold, and this thing was like all restored too. It was awesome. This guy's just cruising around, just happy as could be because he's on an RD400, which you should be because they're super awesome. And he just pulled into the gas station. It was over getting gas. I'm like, man, I so wanted to stop and talk to this guy, but it was super cool. If you put a billet crank and a 6.8 liter and some forged or billet 5.4 rods, you could probably make 1500 flywheel on boost. So you think on the V10? It doesn't have enough cylinder head for that, I don't think. You can make 1500 horsepower with a 5.4 V8 double overcount boost. I know you can do that. Mahovitz has done that, and we've done way over 1,000 horsepower on fairly simple ones, so we know that's possible. A 5.4 4-valve head flows really, really well. Okay, guys, last chance. I'm going to put up the shirts. Kilby Racing t-shirt. Wah. Kilby Racing crew shirt, signed officially. Wow. Look how the lighting changes when I do that. By the way, I look good in this. Yeah, you know you want that. What's up? Plugging the steam holes in a small block 400. Admiral, who makes 600 horsepower NA with a low deck V10 4V at 5.8 liters? Who's doing low deck versions of these, and how come I don't know about these? Yeah, Zachary, I saw. I talked to Lucky and Tony. I like those guys, so we did talk to them about that. And obviously, I'm going to have to step up my game. That's why I have stuff like this. Look at all the lighting. Look at the flash. Look at the flash. So that I can step up my game, because whatever they make, I have to make more, obviously. Stock rods and crank on a 5.4 truck motor. Yeah, you could use that on a stock motor. I don't think you'll make peak power with that big block with 265s at 6,000 RPM with that camshaft. It will pull beyond 6,000 RPM. It's just not going to make peak power there, not with that camshaft. I don't think. I saw the one V10 that they put in the prototype Mustang. Was that a short deck that you guys are talking about? Bake wants to know how much lift you could run on a later 2-valve 4.6 before worrying about piston to valve. It's the duration that you're worried about, not the lift. They already have 550 lift. Most of the cams are going to be around 550 lift, but it's how long you're hanging that valve open. So the Dodge V10 was only rated at 310 horsepower. That's not very good. And then the 3-valve version of the 6.8 liter was 362. That's because the 6.8 was a small displacement one, so it really revved up there. Craig, yeah, I saw the low deck V10 that was in the Mustang. I think Evan Smith actually got to drive that. Patrick, LQ4 was 799 heads and a cam trying to make 600 horsepower NA. Nah. That won't happen unless the 799 heads have been ported by somebody really, really good, and you have the biggest cam that you can fit in the LQ4 with the available piston to valve clearance, or you put a piston in it that has more piston to valve clearance, and then you run a high RPM intake manifold, then you might be able to make 600. It's really hard to do. 550 is really easy, but 550 is hard with the stock head. If that head's not ported, it's hard. David, I think that I've run the 265 head a lot. It'll pull the 6,000. I just don't think it's going to make peak power there with that camshaft. With that camshaft and a dual plane intake manifold, I just don't see that. Mustang's garage. What's the most horsepower you've made on a stock P-headed 302 Explorer on 15 pounds of boost? It depends on what camshaft you have in there and lots of other stuff. No, he didn't. Evan never came and picked me up. They were always in New Jersey at the Magic drag strips there that had apparently boost pressure for their DA. Somebody has to have run nitrous on the 6.8s. I mean, why wouldn't you? Okay, so it's time for me to get going. Who is our winner here? Who is the big bidder? Was it Doug and Jason? What do we got going on here? Caleb. Okay, here's what I want you guys to do. Everybody that bid, everyone that put a bid in, send me an email. I'll put my email address down here again. So anybody that stepped up and threw out some, put my email address here. That's correct. Anybody threw in any super chat bucks? Thank you very much. That was awesome. And so make sure everybody that did that, send me an email and include your name and address and all that stuff. So we'll get you taken care of. If I change pistons on an L92, do I have to balance the rotating assembly? Yes. If you put forged pistons on it, it's definitely going to change it. Mustang Garage, you have stock everything and blow through 650 double turbo. So you're blowing through on a, is this a blower or a turbo? I can't remember now. 15 pounds from what? So the Dodge V10 was completely different than the Viper V10, right? Is that what we're saying? Tanny, you can bid Mexican pesos. I'll show you. Look at this. Check that out. What's that? Yeah, 1963 peso. What's up? Got that. Survivor. It's good stuff. Doug's working on his award acceptance speech. Well, you're going to look nice while you're giving your speech because you'll have the right kind of shirt, right? So Tim, was the SRT10, that was the Viper motor, so that was only in that specific limited application. The other ones were different V10s. Okay, the SRT by Admiral's answering it. The SRT10 was different than the truck V10. The SRT10 was the one that I'm thinking of. Obviously, the one that I saw in the wrecking yard was not that. So does anybody know what the difference is between the SRT10 motor and the Viper motor? Was it cam timing? Was it intake manifold? What did they change for the truck application? Power 123. I have different size crew shirts. I have larges and extra larges. Yeah, I know. See, I got some classic coins. I got some wheat pennies. One of them is like an 09 or an 11 Denver one. It's worth 36 bucks for 1 penny. That's big money. A guy like me's got to be doing okay if he has a penny worth $36. I think that the 8.1, it'd be interesting to see if an 8.1 makes more than those V10s do. I think it does, right? Well, an LM7 compared to an LS7 is only one letter, so they have to be the same, right? There are cams for the 6.8. I talked to the guys at Comp, and we know that we can get regrinds for them. So you have a 7084 1.82 AR. So that's a pretty small turbo. 15 pounds should be getting up near where that turbo would be maxed out on that motor. Oh, you said it was stock though, right? It's got a stock P head. Does it have a stock cam in it too? That can't be making very much power. Stock cam, stock head's gonna be 260 or 270, so you could be, I don't know, it's gonna be probably less than 600 at the flywheel. A 14-liter variable vane turbo. Oh, from a big diesel application. Those are cool. Ooh, a $500 bill. Those are cool. Steel pennies. Do you have any wooden nickels? I just like looking for the wheat pennies. Oh, dang. Power just stepped up his game. I was just getting ready to leave too, man. This is just getting good. Oh, it's a 70mm inducer. Okay. A GT4594 that's a really big turbo. But he didn't say that it's a 70mm inducer, did he? Let's see, go back here. Oh, a 7084. Okay, yeah. Doug, honestly, I don't even like getting junkyard turbos anymore. The stuff out there from China is so cheap that, and it's brand new. You know, the junkyard stuff I don't even get anymore. Back when we could get the T3 and T4 stuff from the turbo T-birds and SVOs and stuff, you can still get some stuff from the diesels, but you know it's a lot of work to take those off. And since a GT45 is, you know, less than $200, it's pretty cheap. We have more thumbs up than we have people watching now. It's pretty good. Okay, Grant, this is going to be my last thing. You're here. Shirts. Yeah, what's up? See? Right now, Power 123 has stepped up with $35. He gets a signed shirt. Whoever is high man on the totem pole gets a shirt. Let's see any other power out ideas for a 67 Ranchero with a 6.8. Nitrous, turbos, blowers. A Mercury Racing 9-liter double overhead cam. Hey, it's only 65 grand. Those are cheap, right? 2 GT45s and my 6-liter with a sloppy stage 3 cam. You don't need a sloppy stage 3 cam. You could put that in there, but a 2 is fine for that, unless you're going to try to max out those 2 turbos, which would be, you know, 1400 or something. Although, Grant, I did like the semi alliteration. At least it rhymed. I'm tardy to the party. That's good. Don't think that goes unnoticed. The turbos would be good because the centrifugal blower is going to have, you know, peak boost at peak RPM, and that motor is kind of all more about grunt. So a turbo that has 7 average pounds would be better. Big Bang of Mercury, yeah. Yeah, that's way too rich for my blood. That sort of stuff. I can't even get oh, Doug. I can't even get a one of the Godzilla motors. I have to borrow that if I'm going to run it, and even then, I would be too afraid because it's somebody else's. Sleeper Nation. A lot of guys use those pack springs. I'd like to use a dual spring, especially if you're going to turn the boost up. I think the dyno at West Tech can go to 2,000. A A 7.5 Pontiac 455 is really good. A variable vane will act like a wastegate. The Dodge guys did that on their little 2.2 liters. But only on one application, though, I think. Okay, guys, I have to get going. Congratulations. Doug, make sure to send me one. Send me an email. And Power123, send me an email. It's in the chats. The email address is in the chats. It's in the comments. Let's go back through here. Man, there's a lot of comments. It's good. You guys are doing good. Doug, I keep seeing your name pop up. Jason, make sure to send me an email, please. There's Doug again, just kind of creeping. Okay, thank you guys for all showing up, and let me know if you guys want some other cool stuff that we need to do on the live stuff. Obviously, there's no end of things for me to talk about, but if you want some more things, some more action going on, we've got some. I've got a bunch of cams and parts and all kinds of stuff that we can get those going as well. I like that stuff. Who the heck did that? I'm gonna have to zoom down here now. Grant, what? I've noticed some other YouTubers mentioning you, such as Faster Promise and Claus. I'd like to do something with Jeremy over there. They do really good stuff. They do really cool things. I'd like to do something really cool with those guys, or with the guys from Boosted Boys. I really like their stuff because, you know, that's they're doing their new K motor that they just put together is super cool. But so yeah, all of those guys are fantastic. I would really like to get something going with them. You know, some big bang stuff. The subject line of the email, just say, hey, look, I bid on the shirts and what's going on. Yo, Richie, what's up? I know. Did you see that, Doug? Somebody stepped up. That's why I was hanging around a little bit. You know, you never know. You never know. Yeah, I actually talked to Jeremy on the phone when he called me up, and he seems like a cool guy. And they're giving, I like that they're giving shout outs to Calvin too, because we want to get his stuff going. I want to talk to him about doing some stuff with him. If I put one of these motors together and it's still alive, then I'd like to get something in his car, because that way he can then actually go run it somewhere, and I never get to do that. So, and his is already set up for that, so it'd be an easy swap, and I wouldn't care if he turned the boost up and really went nuts with it and made it go fast. So that would be kind of cool. I'd like to help Calvin maybe go 8s. That would be awesome. But it looks like he's kind of already on the path to do that. Yeah, Ira, that's a good point. The Vice Grip Garage guys are all very cool. I watch that stuff too. That's very good stuff, because they do, you know, they do my kind of stuff. I like the guys over there. I like Emily over at Flying Sparks. Her and her husband are just good people. You know, there's a lot of good stuff out there to watch. And obviously Lucky and Tony are really good stuff too. And I'm hoping that they revisit the 4200 and they have time to do it. Tony did a nice job on the exhaust in there. I'm a little envious of that. That's pretty cool. But we're going to try to make some power. To be good stuff. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you tomorrow. And everybody, make sure, send me an email.